You know, sometimes the most shocking truths hide in plain sight, whispered just out of earshot. Imagine being the owner of a place you built from the ground up, a place filled with your dreams, only to walk in one day undercover and hear something that makes your blood run cold from the very people who work for you. How would that feel? Have you ever wondered what people say when they think no one important is listening? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Before we dive into this incredible story, please do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps so much. Thank you. This story? Oh, this one is just for you. It's about those moments that catch you completely off guard, the ones that reveal something you never expected. Let's dive in to see what unfolded that day. His name was Alden. He wasn't just some suit in a high-rise. He was the man who'd poured his entire life, every single dollar and ounce of passion, into the Daily Spoon. It was a simple diner, the kind with comfortable booths, the smell of fresh coffee, and the gentle clatter of plates. Alden believed in honest work and taking care of his people. Lately, though, something felt off. Numbers were dipping slightly, small things were missing, nothing major, but enough to plant a seed of worry. He decided to do something he hadn't done in years. He'd visit, not as the boss, but as a regular customer. He put on an old jacket, a worn cap, and even grew a bit of stubble to look less recognizable. He just wanted to see things as they truly were, without the filter of him being the big boss. He walked into the Daily Spoon on a Tuesday morning. The familiar aroma hit him, a mix of coffee, frying onions, and something sweet from the pastry case. It felt like home, but also strangely foreign in his disguise. There was a small line at the counter. 2 young women were working the cash registers. Alden didn't interact with the staff much these days. The managers handled that, but he recognized them faintly. One was a tall woman with bright, tired eyes named Bethany. The other, shorter with quick hands, was named Cassie. He shuffled into line, pulling his cap lower, trying to look casual. He watched the morning rush, the waitresses hurrying by, the cooks busy in the back. Everything looked normal. As he got closer to the counter, the person in front of him finished their order and moved aside. Alden stepped forward, ready to order his usual black coffee and maybe a slice of apple pie. But then he stopped. He froze mid-step, his hand hovering near his wallet. He hadn't even spoken a word yet. It wasn't what he saw that stopped him, but what he heard. Bethany and Cassie, thinking the line had cleared for a second, were talking in low voices. Their backs were slightly turned towards him as they wiped down the counter. Bethany sighed, a sound that held the weight of the world. "I don't know how much longer I can do this, Cass. The rent is due next week. If I don't have it..." Her voice trailed off, thick with desperation. Cassie leaned in, her voice even lower, urgent. "You have to, Beth. Just a little more." We agreed. It's the only way. Alden felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. Agreed? The only way. What were they talking about? His mind immediately jumped to the missing items, the dipping numbers. Were they stealing? The thought was like a physical blow. These were his employees, people he trusted, or at least, people who worked in the place he poured his heart into. Sadness washed over him, quickly followed by a rising anger. How could they? After everything? He stood there, unable to move, unable to speak. He wanted to yell, to confront them, to rip off his disguise and demand answers. But something held him back. The raw pain in Bethany's voice, the almost fearful intensity in Cassie's. This wasn't just casual theft, it felt bigger, driven by something deeper. "He won't even notice," Cassie whispered, her voice gaining a strange edge. "He's never here anyway. Always in his fancy office." Alden flinched. They meant him. Did they resent him? Did they think he didn't care? It was a painful thought. He did care. More than they could ever know. He built this place for people like them, to have jobs, to have a place in the community. But what if he does? Bethany sounded terrified. What if someone sees? We could lose everything. Not just the job, everything. Cassie put a hand on her arm. "We won't. We're careful. And we need this, Beth. Think about everything. The alternative is worse." Alden's blood ran cold. The alternative is worse? What could be worse than stealing from your employer? This conversation was getting darker, more complex than simple cash till skimming. His initial anger began to mix with a chilling curiosity. What everything were they talking about? What terrible alternative were they facing? He cleared his throat, a small, hesitant sound. The 2 cashiers snapped their heads towards him, their faces instantly changing from worried intensity to polite, if slightly startled, customer service smiles. "Oh, sorry about that, sir," Bethany said quickly, her tired eyes widening slightly as she focused on him. "What can I get for you today?" Alden opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. He looked at Bethany's strained smile, at the flicker of fear he saw in Cassie's eyes. He couldn't just order coffee anymore. He couldn't just ignore what he'd heard. This wasn't about a few missing dollars anymore. This felt like a story of desperation, perhaps even danger, playing out right in front of him in his diner. He needed to know more. He needed to understand everything. He needed to know what terrible choice had led these two young women to speak in hushed, fearful tones about an alternative worse than whatever secret they shared. What painful truth was hiding behind their polite smiles? He decided not to confront them, not yet. He needed information. He needed to see the whole picture, not just the terrifying glimpse he'd just been given. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to sound normal, though his heart was pounding like a drum against his ribs. Just a black coffee, please," he managed to say, his voice a little rougher than usual. He watched them closely as Cassie rang up the order, their hands steady, their faces calm now. It was unnerving how quickly they could switch. It made him wonder how long this had been going on, how many times they'd had similar hushed conversations, hiding their secret lives behind the counter of the Daily Spoon. What hidden fears drove them? What hopes were they clinging to? He paid for his coffee, his mind racing. He took the cup, mumbled a thank you, and moved away from the counter, but he didn't leave. He found an empty booth near the back, trying to be inconspicuous, pretending to sip his coffee while his eyes and ears were focused entirely on the two cashiers. He had to find out what was really happening. He had to uncover the truth that was whispering in the heart of his diner. Because sometimes the people you think you know the least are the ones carrying the heaviest burdens, and their quiet desperation can lead them down paths you never imagined. And finding that out in your own home, well, it changes everything. What bitter truth would he uncover? And how would it shatter the image he had of his beloved diner and the people who worked there? He watched and waited, the coffee growing cold in his hands, the weight of the unspoken words heavy in the air. He knew, in that moment, that the truth, whatever it was, would be hard to swallow. But like a bitter medicine, sometimes the hardest truths are the ones you need the most. This experience taught Alden a profound lesson. It wasn't just about profit margins or inventory. It was about the lives connected to his business. It was about understanding the struggles and fears of the people who made his dream a reality. Sometimes, the most important part of being a leader isn't giving orders, but listening, truly listening, to the quiet voices of those around you, because their stories might hold the most unexpected and vital truths.